Finding ways to save money in this business is the way you succeed at reselling. And shipping is yet another example of how I think a lot of people spend too much money and are losing too much money. And it can make a difference between making a buck or two extra on the sale and or losing money because your package is just too big. So I'm going to show you and talk to you about how I do it on the other side. So without any further ado, let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. This is John from Flippin' Ain't Easy, and in this video I'm going to show you how I ship. It saves me money and it allows me to stay profitable, and knowing that I'm not spending a ton of money on boxes and other things, it allows me to be a little bit more generous with my pricing if I need to on my items, knowing that I'm going to still make a good profit. And I'm going to tell you all about this. We're going to go into my area in the garage and I'm going to show you exactly what I do, and I'm not going to charge you anything for it, and I'm not going to charge you $39.95 for what I do. I want you guys to all be successful. So whether this stuff works for you or not, whether or not this is going to give you some ideas on maybe doing things differently to help you save money, hopefully it helps somebody out there. So let's get over to the garage and I'll show you more about how I save money. So the plan is for me to be shipping a few things a day, and I want to show you what I do, which is not necessarily what everyone else does. And it's quite possible that you're spending just way too much money doing it the way that you're doing it. So maybe you can consider what I'm doing, and it's saving me money. Don't have to spend a lot on boxes, and I don't get complaints. That's the number one thing. These normally arrive in great condition. Now, real quick, if you're shipping something that's made of glass, porcelain, something that's very breakable, continue doing what you're doing to get it there so it doesn't break. So that means using boxes, maybe extra padding, double boxing, all that, right? So have boxes set aside if you're selling those kind of items. What I'm talking about is things that maybe you're putting in boxes that don't need to be put in boxes. Maybe you're just shipping it, like something like this, a keyboard. You don't want to just slap a label on this thing. This keyboard, it has, and there's a mouse in here. These are all breakable. And what I would recommend is sometimes you'd go in, put a layer of bubble wrap inside the box, but that's still not enough. That doesn't give the buyer an impression that you really took a lot of time. You could see this was a customer return, and all they did was slap a label on it. Now, thankfully, the item didn't get broken, but I've seen too many instances where you get these items like this, and if they would have just protected it, a lot of customers like to just slap a label, that return label, on a box and not put any bubble wrap or protect it, and that's a mistake. So I'm not going to make that mistake, and this is what I do. So I have two different types of bubble wrap here. I have a bubble wrap dispenser. Of course, we think it's a bottle dispenser for some reason. But I have two different sizes of bubble wrap, and I'm going to take the appropriate size. So for me, this is my shipping station, and I have my computer on there. I just kind of work around it. I'll take my bubble wrap, kind of size it up. This is about the right size for this. Take what I need, put a full layer of bubble wrap on it. Got my tape, clear tape. Just slap it on there and hold it in place. I'm wrapping this like I would a Christmas present without really being too precise. If that makes sense. So I think you guys get the gist of what I'm trying to do here, so I'm going to go as fast as I can. And as you can see, I have a box now that has, now this doesn't seem like a lot, but it's going to give an extra layer of protection, and you don't need to put a box around this. I mean, look, not many of us have boxes that'll perfectly fit this type of thing. So what I'll do is I'll take a poly bag. Now I have different sizes of poly bags. I will, in my mind, sort of guesstimate which poly bag that I'll need. And I know where I keep my poly bags. That is not going to cut it. Okay? It's not going to be enough. So that's not going to work. I go to the next size up. This is a very large. This is a 19 by 24 poly bag. It's measured from where my finger is down to the bottom and then all the way across. So I'll get generally 24 by 24s, I'll get 19 by 24s, I'll get 12.5 by 15s, 9 by 13s, I believe, and I think there's the 6 by 9s that are smaller ones. And I think I have a 24 by 12. Those will cover most packages, and that's really all you need. You're going to spend about, for 100 packs, you're going to spend like about $20 to $25. The larger the poly bags, of course, the more it's going to be. Take my trusty eBay gun. I have a clear tape gun as well. What I like to do is I will form the poly bag. So you see I put the poly bag so it's, now I could send it like this, okay? And there's absolutely nothing wrong with sending like this. This looks like a large package. And in fact, if you're using pirate ship cubic shipping, you need to have your packages look like an envelope, okay? More so than a box. So this would technically work if I was shipping it with cubic, but I'm not shipping this with cubic, okay? The reason why is it needs to be a smaller package for me to consider cubic, and it has to be a little heavier too. This is probably only about 2 pounds, and I'll weigh it here in a minute, but I'm gonna throw my eBay tape on there. So I'm gonna form this so that it's like the shape of the box that I put in the bag. Okay, so I got the first half done. Then I'm going to come over here, fold this, take out as much slack as possible. Okay, and then I'm going to put another couple layers of eBay tape on here. Now, there's two things I consider. If this is going out by USPS priority mail, it's over a pound, I won't bother doing anything more than this, okay? You can see there's a lot of slack here, and that's fine. I have never had a problem with my packages like this on USPS. However, two things. UPS is one of those things where if it was going UPS, and I'm not sure exactly how this is going, I have to wait till I run the label. I will put, and just for demonstration purposes only, I will go ahead and do that here. I will put a layer of thin, clear, okay, like I'm doing, over the remaining parts of the package. And the reason why I do this is so that the loose parts of this package don't get caught up in the conveyor belt at UPS. Never had an issue with UPS on this. Now, the other thing I was going to tell you is if you do this with FedEx, you will get hit with a fee. And in many cases, my fee was about $18 per package. That was the mystery that I solved, that was solved for me a couple years ago, why I was spending so much in FedEx shipping and why I will never use FedEx. FedEx does not like the way I package my items. And so while FedEx may show me a cheaper label option sometimes, FedEx Ground, I'm not going to box it up and spend more money on boxing. I think a lot of times people are spending way too much money on supplies like your boxes. Now, if you have a way of finding boxes free, then go with that. But another thing I find a problem with boxes is you're never going to find a box that's going to perfectly fit your item. So if I had this item, I would probably have a box that would be too big, and I'd have to then find other ways, waste a lot of bubble wrap, or maybe find ways like shredded paper, maybe wadded paper of like newspapers. You're not going to always have that on hand, and it's going to just be a lot more difficult. And when you got to realize when you're shipping through any of these carriers, they consider not only the weight but the dimensions. So if I found a larger box to put this in, I'm going to be paying potentially a higher rate because the box is bigger than this, if that makes sense. So here's another example. This is a large men's ski jacket, and I have it in a clear poly. I like putting my clothing in clear poly bags. for a couple reasons. Now, normally I would try to fit whatever I can into this, but you can see it's not going to fit. And a little secret here, if this was smaller, okay, if I could get this into a smaller poly bag, which I've tried, I can't. The poly bags will help get this inside of these bubble flat rate envelopes that cost $8.30 to ship, okay, anywhere in the United States. So, not using that option because this is too big. So I am simply going to, I don't need to bubble wrap it. Why? Because it's not breakable. There's no need to waste bubble wrap on this. So I'm going to take an appropriate size bubble wrap or an appropriate size poly bag, and I'm going to use my 24 by 12. And again, it's going to be a tight, snug fit, but the fact that I have that clear poly bag on there is just going to make it so much easier. Okay, so it's a good idea to have poly bags, clear poly bags on hand too. And you know what? It looks better. It has a better appearance than just putting the garment in. Of course, it keeps its uniform shape if you have it in a clear poly instead of just stuffing it in the poly bag. Gives another layer of protection, so when they're trying to open this, maybe they're using a box cutter or a pair of scissors, they're not gouging the garment. Okay, there's one more layer of protection underneath this, which is why you can make an argument for using maybe a layer of bubble wrap if you wanted to, if you had room, so that if they're opening it, they're not going to destroy the item inside. So again, I'll just take my eBay branded tape. Okay, and that's it. Now again, I will throw that clear layer of tape if I'm going to send this by UPS ground. I don't know exactly where this is going yet. I'll find out when I'm running the label what options I get. And if, like, it's going to California from Nevada, then it'll go by USPS priority mail. Here's another item here. This is a item I sold on Mercari, but it doesn't really much matter. They're going to be handled the same way. Now, there's a couple ways I can do this. I could put a layer. This is a VTech toy, okay? And what I'll do is I'll take the packaging out. And some of this internal packaging doesn't do anyone any good. So I'll take the packaging out. Take my bubble wrap. Now that's that's as long as I have room inside the packaging. Sometimes you're not going to have that extra space to do this in, and you're just going to have to use your best judgment. This is a brand new open box toy. So if it was sealed, I wouldn't open it up. I'd just leave it the way it is. But since it's an open box toy, I'm going to try to put this back in the way I found it. That's another challenge that I love. Okay, so looks like we're going to make it here, I think. Yeah, we're going to make it. So, you want to look in here? So I'm just going to kind of fold this bubble wrap over and make a protective barrier for the item inside. Okay, and I'm going to fold this, the flaps, get my tape here. I think this was Mercari, so I'm not going to put the eBay tape. I'm not going to use the eBay tape for that reason. And simple as that. I'm going to just check the bottom side, make sure that it's tight. And I'll remove any unnecessary labels. Again, I don't want them to know that I got this from an Amazon lot. I mean, it's all about perception. And of course, they're going to see a lot of these stickers on. They're not going to know what they are. I know that this was a customer return. I'll probably slap my shipping label right here. Okay. Any kind of markers, like I had this little marker when I moved to tell me what bin it went in. That'll all be cleaned up before I put it out. And simply, this is an example where I'm using the existing boxing. I'm not using any bubble. Now, you can use. Now, I use bubble inside. I don't need to use on the outside too. Now, if you feel like maybe the bubble inside isn't adequate, you could simply then go in and throw another layer on the outside. Okay, and wrap it up like the way I did it with the first box. And then I'll probably use like a 24 by 24. Give you an idea. This is a 24 by 24 poly bag. And as you can see, you can do that. Now, one thing that's this time of year, Christmas time, maybe you don't want to ship it out like this because you don't want maybe the Christmas recipient to see that they're getting something VTech or whatever, right? So without poly, or without bubble wrap or with bubble wrap, just simply throw the poly bag over the item. I'll show it to you, even though I'm not going to be shipping it that way, just so you have an idea. Okay. And sometimes it's not going to fit 100%. Okay. Now, if it's that much of a gap, I'll just put some eBay tape. You know, maybe do some creative foldovers. Maybe take a piece of tape to hold that in place, and maybe just do some creative foldovers. Okay. Tape that down, and then just throw up a layer of eBay tape there. Form fit it with tape here, right? And then I have my package, and they don't know what's inside. Around Christmas time, the holidays, people get kind of weird about their packaging. If you ship this VTech the way I'm going to ship it, and I'm kind of only going to ship it like this because, first of all, it's for a little baby, and babies don't go out and check the packages on their front doorstep. So they're not going to be at all surprised. They're not going to have any idea what this is. So using my discretion, I'm just going to ship it like this. There's no need to do anything crazy. But just, there's many strategies you want to employ, and you don't need to go out and buy all these boxes. All you need to do is go out. I use American Bubble Boy. They don't sponsor this channel. Hopefully, if you're watching their American Bubble Boy, I use you guys all the time. You should sponsor us. I talk about you guys all the time. But I digress. 24-inch small bubble wrap, and the 12-inch. And I have this dispenser that I picked up from Uline. It's like $100. But it keeps this stuff out of the way in just a neat fashion. And yeah, that's what I do. I simply batch all the packaging of this. A couple things that you need to kind of keep in mind. Don't list an item unless you know how you're going to ship it. Okay, so if you're going to use a box, you need to put those measurements in along with the weight when you're actually building your listing. Don't throw a generic measurement in there, because if you get a return, it's going to affect the cost of your return label. The eBay can only go by what you have in the listing to determine what that return label is going to cost you. So for the purpose of the return, and or if you have calculated shipping, you need to have the exact measurement. So like for instance, I will take this box. Let's just say I was planning on bubble wrapping the outside. Okay, let's say I didn't have room on the inside to put bubble wrap. I will make my measurements. So in this case, this is a 18, a little over 17, so it's more like 18. I will go out to 19. I'll round it up to the nearest inch above. So in my mind, that's 19 inches long by, see, it's barely over 14, but I want to give myself room for the bubble wrap and the poly bag. So 15 inches high, and then the width of the package is a little over 7, so I'm just going to be 8. Okay, so 19, 15, and 8 is what I'm going to put in the listing. So now, when my buyer buys the item, uses calculated shipping, it's going to calculate a larger package because I need that room to add the layer or two of bubble wrap I'm going to put, along with the bulkiness of this poly bag, if that makes sense. So that's how I do my shipping. Now, smaller things, I didn't have anything smaller, but a lot of times you can form fit anything. So as an example, I have this drip tray. Again, I use the clear poly. This looks nicer, you know, than just leaving it without. So I have this drip tray, and what I would do is, if I was shipping this, which I'm not, but I'll just show you what I would do. Take my bubble wrap. Okay, nice layer there. Fold it over so that there's no overhang of this bubble wrap, so it looks like you actually took a moment. People do appreciate. I've had so many comments and compliments from people that have appreciated the effort that I put into putting their packages out to them. And I don't have a box for this, so I'll simply put this bad boy in my, I think this is a 13 by 9. And again, I'll form fit it. I'm not going to do that now because this is not an item I'm shipping. And maybe run a piece of tape along here, and it'll look like an envelope. Now, if I was dealing with a heavier item, let's say this is really heavy, I probably would add more bubble wrap because it's a heavy item. But also, I would then consider going into Pirate Ship and using their cubic rate. And you just enter the envelope dimensions before you put the item in to determine, and then the weight of it after you're done to determine the cost of that item to be shipped. Otherwise, I would simply just put this on the scale. I think this is, I have a scale out here, so this is 14 ounces. Okay, so this would be a perfect 15-ounce item after the tape is applied and the label's applied, and it's going out first class. And it may not seem like a whole lot. You might kind of cringe to yourself and wonder, oh wow, that's not going to make it in good shape. But trust me, this is a very sturdy item. The bubble wrap is going to be a lot more protective than it looks. And if I had, I'm talking thousands of packages that I've shipped this way, if I've had a lot of people complain, then I probably wouldn't be doing it like this. But it works. It's going to save you money. It's going to save you time. You're not going to have all these boxes lying around. I got a lot of different poly bags, right? And I have them in different compartments. I know where my stuff is. I know exactly where to go. I can eye the box, eye the item, and pretty much know what size poly bag I'm going to use. You're going to get that over time. Your initial investment is going to be about $100, $150 for your poly bags and maybe some bubble wrap to get a sufficient amount of supply for Q4, which we're at right now. And at the end of the day, it's going to save you in shipping costs because, UPS, USPS, FedEx, they're all increasing their rates. And we have to do things that are going to allow us to keep up with that. And it's not enough to say we're going to just build that into the price of our item. We have to take action to cut the cost of our shipping supplies to keep up with that. So what do you guys think? Comment down below. Do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and of course hit that notification bell so of course you guys know when I go live at the last minute, you're going to be notified. Guys, saving money on shipping, when everything is going up, we have to find ways to bring costs down. And simple poly bag, buying like 5 or 6 different sizes, depending on what you sell. If you sell smaller stuff, you might only need a couple different sizes. If you sell everything like I do, you need anything from a 6 by 9, which is smaller than this, all the way up to a 24 by 24, maybe even a 36 by 24. They make them, I think, 36 to 36 too. And that's going to save you money. It's going to make your packaging look a little more professional, and you're going to still be able to disguise what you're shipping. I think a lot of people would appreciate that. So there's a lot of benefits other than just saving money. And you're going to have a uniform process where you're not going to need as many boxes. Yes, I still use boxes. There's times where if I have a hat like this, I'll put it in an 8 by 6 by 4 eBay box, and I'll just put it in there and close it up, and that's it. It makes it just fine. That's how I do it. How you do it's going to be different, and all I'm doing is providing you ideas on how to save that money and to be more efficient. But you know what, guys? Saving money in this business is just as important as maybe buying your items at a low price, but it's just another example of how flipping ain't easy. And I want you guys to have an excellent rest of your day, and we will talk to you very soon.